the skills that is very important in reading. And it's not just about being able to decode letter and sounds. So why do we read? I think a lot of us, at some point in our life, we read because we want to be smart, we want to know things, we want to learn things, right? We want to improve our vocabulary, because no matter how sociable we are, no matter how much we talk, in normal conversation, we wouldn't use certain words, especially like high-level words or very what we call domain-specific words. We find those words only in books, for example. So we read sometimes to improve our vocabulary. We read because it's fun. I mean, I read because it's fun. And this is my personal one. It makes me feel alive. Like, no kidding. When I find good books, my heart would beat faster. And that's how I know, okay, it's going to be a good book. We read to learn to be human. So what does it mean to learn to be human? So books represent stories of other people that live a life that we will never live. For example, books like Kite Runner, A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khalid Hosseini. We will never live in like war-torn countries like Afghanistan. Might not be, inshallah. We are not refugees, might never be a refugee, for example. So we learn these stories through the characters, and we learn about, empathy, we learn about their struggles and things like that. So we learn to be human. And then books like, for example, Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, we learn about or Macbeth, even same thing. We learn about how people also struggle when they do something wrong because they have conscience. We might never do such a crime of killing people, for example, but we learn about those feelings from from the characters that we read from books. So I guess we read because we want to learn how to be human, not just from our perspective, but from other people's perspective as well. We read because it's a habit and a lifestyle. So I did my undergrad in TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages in New Zealand, and I worked part-time in the Borders bookstore as bookshelver. So I worked from 6 a.m. in the morning until 10 a.m. in the morning, and then 10 a.m. I would run to class. So from 6 to 10, what I did was I shelf books or pull out books that should be returned to the publishers. So when we opened the store at 9, people would have already lined up outside of the door. So I guess things like this shows that reading is a lifestyle for these people. I've never really seen the same in Malaysia, but I hope it can be a lifestyle for us as well. And then one of our customers was a guy who is homeless, and he spent the whole day in the bookstore reading. So I guess it really changed my mindset about homelessness, about poverty, because sometimes homelessness, poverty doesn't necessarily equate to not being knowledgeable, because that man, even though he's homeless, he reads the whole day, and the books that he's reading is not like, not magazines. He reads literature and things like that. So I feel like reading should be a lifestyle. It should be something that makes us human. And tradition. So we learn about tradition from books as well. So for example, macam buku Sang Kancil dan Buaya, Sang Kancil dan Buaya, Sang Kancil dan Harimau, for example, macam tu kan. So in some societies, they pass their tradition orally, oral tradition stories, and some of these stories are put in books. So we learn about our tradition in books. Actually, there's this one book that I really love by Osman Putih. The title is 365 Cerita Rakyat Malaysia, or is it 366 Cerita Rakyat Malaysia? So it is arranged in such a way that you would have a story a day to read about classics like bagaimana Bota mendapat nama, Si Tanggang, Putri Santubong, all stories around Malaysia. And that's what I mean when we say we read to learn about our own traditions. Purpose of literacy, right? So why do we read? Purpose changes with age and language level. So for example, when we were younger, we read because we're just fascinated by books. We see a lot of people reading and we want to, we want to participate as well. So we read. As we get a little bit older, when we go to school, we read to learn. I was mentioning just now about learning how to read and reading to learn. So learning how to read happens in the beginning stage for younger kids. They learn how to read. A lot of them is decoding. So that's why we have like graded readers like Bacalah Anakku ke, Peter and Jane ke, those books. Those books are for kids to learn how to read. But then as they get older, maybe darjah 3, the purpose of reading is not about learning how to read, but it's to learn something. So they read because there's information there and that information is going to come out in their exam. That's why they read, for example. And as for us adults, we read for leisure. We read to learn. We want to find information. And also I feel like we read to also belong. So for example, I don't know, when I was in university, because I took TESOL. So when we were in literature, um, the assumption is that you must have at least read Shakespeare. Even though it wasn't true for me, because it was, I don't know, I didn't understand at the point, because that language is very old. But I come to love Shakespeare. So we learn how to, sorry, we read to also to belong. And also, like I said earlier, because some of our culture, even though it is orally transmitted, it also in books. So we want to know about our history, about our tradition. So that's why we read. So for younger children, like I mentioned earlier, um, they read because they need to learn how to read. I like this. One way to make you a good reader is for you to read a lot. There is no shortcut to it. For younger children, it's also about vocab. Like I mentioned earlier, our spoken conversation is limited in terms of vocab. So they find new vocab, they learn about new vocab through books. They learn values, traditions, history, and culture. Uh, for example, books like Aesop Fables, 366 Cerita Rakyat Malaysia, for example, live vicariously through the characters. This is what I love best, because I feel like every time I read, it's like a movie is playing in my mind. It's like I am seeing the characters acting out whatever story it is that I was reading. It's about discovery of life, new family member, the arrival of new family member, meaning to say siblings, death, disappointment, friendship, adventure. They learn all of this in books. Because our life, in a way, is kind of limited. We might not experience death in the near future, but then we discover about it in through books. We might not have younger, for example, I don't have younger siblings, so I might not ever understand what it feels like. But then because there is a book about it, okay, so that's how I come to learn about what does it feel like to have a new family member from the perspective of a child. And then another thing is theory of mind. So theory of mind means the development of this awareness that what we feel isn't necessarily what others feel, even though we are going through the same experience. So for example, let's say two child are eating donuts. One child might love it, the other child might not. So just because one loves it doesn't mean the other would. So that is theory of mind. And also being able to communicate how you feel, how you think, what others think also. So that is theory of mind. So for the purpose of this webinar, I am going to introduce some books that I love. And I am going to explain a little bit what can we and also the kids learn from these books. What are some of the things, for example, that we can help our child with in terms of maybe language development, in terms of maybe vocab, social skills and things like that. So Mo Williams is like my ultimate favorite. So he wrote, among others, the Pigeon series. Okay. All right. Hold on. So we have the pigeon finds a hot dog, and another one is Don't let the pigeon drive the bus. So this is like my absolute favorite. This pigeon is very sassy. He has his own attitude. He wants what he wants, and through these books, you would see how he persuades us, the readers, to let him have whatever it is that he wants. Another one is Piggy and Elephant. Okay, so I have like plenty of books here around me. Okay. These are some of a Piggy and Elephant series. I think there are about 25 books in all. But here are some. Piggy and Elephant is about Piggy and Elephant. So they are like two friends, and every day there are issues that they have to like overcome. So whatever issues they overcome, by the end of the story, they will be friends again. So I really like how the plot of the story, because kids go through a lot of problems in their daily life. Whether we perceive it as problem or not is another thing. But to them, it's like challenges that they're going to face. But then this book shows us that you can be disappointed, but you can still be friends again. I mean, you can be sad, for example, but you can still love the people around you. Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna, because I think I see chat. Should just gonna have the list of the book? Yeah, sure. I would share the list of the books later. Okay. Right. So okay, hold on. I have a few that I will show later. Okay. Another one from the Mo Williams series is the Knuffle. I like to say Knuffle. Actually, Mo Williams says we can pronounce it any way we want. We can say Knuffle. We can also say Knuffle. I prefer Knuffle. So, Knuffle Bunny. I love this book because, okay, here's a secret. I have my own bantal busuk, right? So basically, it's the same thing. Kids have their bantal busuk. So it starts from this one, the adventure of this Trixie. Trixie is actually Mo Williams' daughter. So Trixie ada dia punya bunny. And then in this story, bunny dia, this is funny, bunny dia masuk dalam washing machine masa dia pergi laundromat. But dia ada 3 je. I don't know what happened to the second book, but in the third book, this is the saddest one. Knuffle Bunny free, as you can see, she let go of her bunny. So that's very sad. I'm going to show you the books later. All right. So what can we learn from these books? So everyday struggle. So I'm going to start with Elephant, the Elephant series. Okay, this one. My favorite is a big guy took my ball. So I like how Piggy, so Piggy doesn't really have a name. Piggy is Piggy, but the elephant is actually Gerald. So in this book, Piggy was calling Gerald, Gerald! I found a big ball. So see, the Piggy says that she found a big ball. I'm not going to read the whole book because it's going to take some time, but she says she found a big ball, right? But then she said a big guy came and took my ball. He took my ball, but what I want to highlight is the font size. So before this, it was small, except for when she's calling Gerald, it's big because you know that she is shouting, Gerald. Okay. And then it's small. Smaller font means it's just a normal voice, normal talking voice. And now it's big font, means that she's screaming, she's upset. He took my ball. So when we read, we look at the font size, and also it gives us a cue on what kind of intonation for us to use. Tak adalah kalau kita baca, he took my ball. No, because apparently this is a scream. He took my ball, right? And kids like this because, she was screaming so loud that even the elephant flipped. I'm so upset. Back to normal voice. Okay. And then Gerald was like, this is not good, not fair, like big guys shouldn't be bullying and take your things like that. And then she was like, okay, I am big too again, screaming. So he says, I'm gonna help you take back your ball. Okay. But look, the big guy is actually very big. It's a whale. Okay, so here again, that is a big guy, capital letters. This is to emphasize how big the whale is. And we can use this as a teaching point. So for example, for this book, it is good for us to teach the word big. How do we spell big? How does big look like? Big can look like this with all capital letters. Big can also look like this. all small letters. Again, big, right? And then what I like is, dia kata, the whale, because he's so big, that's why all of the font is capital. Thank you for finding my little ball. So earlier, Piggy was saying that I had a big ball, right? But then the whale was saying little ball. And then look, Piggy asks, that is your ball? And you think it is little? So this is teaching about perspective. The same ball, right? Same size. For one person, it could be big. Big. And from another person, it is actually little. So it is teaching about perception as well. And then, yeah, so why does he think the ball is little? Because he is big. That's why for him, the ball is little. So end of the story, they end up playing together. Very nice. So this is my favorite book because of the intonation and also perspective. Okay, another of Mo Willem books. Okay, I Am a Frog. So I Am a Frog is about Piggy pretending to be a frog. He's a pig, right? She's a pig, but she's pretending to be a frog. So she was making ribbit, that sound. And the elephant was like, Piggy, ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. He was so, he was so surprised. What are you doing, Piggy? I am a frog. You are a frog? I did not know that. Isn't that funny? Oh, baru nampak the pages besar. Oh, sekejap eh. Okay, I stopped share. Thank you for letting me know. Oh, okay. Is it better like this? Okay, tengok. Okay, thank you. All right. And then Elephant was saying, I was sure you were a pig. You look like a pig and your name is Piggy, right? So I guess this also teaches us about why do we say a thing, a certain things. So when I was in the US, I was teaching third grade students, and this child, this one of the students in my class always asks why, right? But let's say we have to go to lunch. Now it's time for lunch. Let's line up. Why? So this would help in a way to explain things like, why do we do this? Oh, well, because we need to move in a line, for example, so that everyone is safe, so that we can reach there on time. So in this case, for example, if we say that is a ball, what makes you say it's a ball? Because it's round, for example, we can bounce it. That's why we call it a ball. So in this case, the elephant was saying, I'm sure you were a pig. You look like a pig. And then your name is Piggy. That's why I call you a pig. But then Piggy was saying, I was a pig, but now I'm a frog. All right. So, and then they get I became a pig about like 5 minutes ago. And then they get what if I become a frog? Since you can become a frog, why don't I become a frog too? Hopping all day, eating flies. So if we were to look at the facial expression of Gerald, the elephant, we can see that even though he says that maybe I can become a frog, but from his facial expression, we know that he doesn't like the idea actually, because he looks like apprehensive. Can I really do this? Thinking about eating flies? Like, no, I'm not looking forward to eating flies. All sweating, meaning to say he doesn't like the idea. This is what I talk about when I say about inference. It is not stated in the book that Gerald doesn't like the idea, right? But how do we know he doesn't like the idea? Because of his facial expression. I do not want to be a frog. It is okay, Gerald. So this is my favorite part. It is pretend. So we don't really use the word pretend in our everyday conversation. So it's a pretty new vocabulary that we can teach through this book. What does it mean to be, what does it mean, pretend? And then Piggy was saying, it is the end. No, Gerald, pretend. I am pretending. What is pretending? Pretending is when you act like something you're not. This is my favorite part. Wow. And you can just do that? You can just go out and pretend to be something you're not? Sure, everyone pretends. Even grown up people? All the time. This is my favorite part. So we learn about the concept of pretending through this book. What does it mean to pretend? It means to be something that you're not. And for kids, they pretend a lot. Like, for example, today they are a rabbit, and then tomorrow they're something else. And it's healthy, actually. Okay. Maybe another one from the Elephant and Piggy book that I love is, should I share my ice cream? So Elephant, Gerald, bought an ice cream. And then he loved ice cream. And then all of a sudden, he was thinking about his friend, Piggy. Wait, Piggy loves ice cream too. So, should I share my ice cream with her? So I think kids think about this a lot. Like when they have something, they think whether they should share it with someone, their friends, maybe their families, right? So this is the struggle that the elephant is facing. He was like, I love this ice cream, it's awesome, yummy, sweet, super great, tasty, nice, cool ice cream, to show how much he loves it. Hmm. Thinking face, thinking face. And then he was like trying to justify not sharing. Oh, well, maybe Piggy does not like this flavor. And sharing a flavor Piggy does not like would be wrong. I will eat the ice cream. Wait, Piggy will like this flavor. So this is what I talk about when I say theory of mind. It's thinking about what someone else would think. So you love the flavor, right? And then at first Gerald was like, okay, Piggy might not like this flavor, but then he was like, actually, yeah, Piggy loves this flavor. It is very yummy. And then he was still thinking about it. Piggy is not here. She does not know I have this ice cream. And then I will eat it. But then he kept thinking about Piggy. What if she is sad? Okay, so this is again is theory of mind. What if she is sad somewhere? Like, you are happy now because you have ice cream, but someone else might be sad somewhere. So he tried to look for Piggy, and then he was planning. So this is another good one. Plan, because sometimes we think that kids don't plan. Actually, they do. So in this case, he said, when I find Piggy, I will say to her, would you like my ice cream? Then she will say, this is predicting, thank you, that would cheer me up. Then I will give her my ice cream to share a happy ending. But no. The ice cream fell. Again, fawn. I will do it. I will share my ice cream. Very small fawn means voice very low. No. This is very sad. Now Piggy cannot have any of my ice cream. Now I cannot have any of my ice cream. Mm. But then Piggy came, offered her ice cream, and then basically what Gerald was thinking will happen when he shared the ice cream was what Piggy did. And she was like, that was not my plan. Yeah, so that's very fun. Okay, so the pigeon book. Everyday struggle. The piggy needs a bath. I do not. So what I like about this series is that the pigeon directly interacts with the reader. So this is the title. Someone is saying the pigeon needs a bath, and then the pigeon responded by saying, I do not. Oops. And then vocab, a lot of like high level vocab, I would say, in the pigeon series. Any mechanism to teach kids is the memory system which that frequently see in daily life. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get back to that later during our Q&A. All right, so the pigeon needs a bath. Hi, I don't know if you've noticed, but the pigeon is filthy. So I could use your help because the pigeon needs a bath. And the pigeon was like, that is a matter of opinion. I don't really need a bath. I took one last month. You know, kids, they give excuses. I don't need a bath. So in the pigeon case, because I took one already last month. Clean, dirty, they're just words, right? I feel clean. So maybe you need a bath. So this is like a direct interaction between the character and also the readers. All right. And then when someone actually made the bath, he was like, the water is too hot, too cold, too lukewarm, too hot, too wet, too cold, not enough toys, too many toys, a lot of excuses. But then it actually went in and didn't want to come out of the bath. So yeah, everyday struggle of like kids. As for the Knuffle Bunny. So Knuffle Bunny is interesting because it's like a narrative kind of a book. It doesn't have dialogues. And I like how there is a combination between like, you know, comic and also real pictures. So these are real pictures. They came down from their apartment and then they walk on the street. They went to the laundromat, and then put everything inside and accidentally put the bunny in, right? But then it is not stated in the book that the bunny went in. How do we know? It's based on the picture. So needless to say, at the end of the book, Trixie was reunited with her bunny. Right. So Trixie is about 2 in this age. Oh, sorry, I need to show you this. Trixie realized something. Okay. Trixie turned to her dad and said, "Echo, flago, clabble." So that means Trixie is at the age in which she cannot speak yet. And I think a lot of kids would be able to relate to this. Like they want to communicate something, but the parents do not understand. Okay, so I'm gonna share my slides again. Oh, hold on. Share screen. This one. I was at More Williams. Okay. And now Dr. Seuss.
或者是嫁出去哦，到时到后一定要过来了，因为保护你孩子，保护你家人，然后保护我自己。我觉得要开，如果是
Sorry, I lift up his hands. I thought he wanted to say something. So
okay.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
It.
All right, so Dr. Seuss. So Dr. Seuss, what I like about his books are the rhymes, silly characters, nonsense words. So as a reading specialist, when we evaluate reading ability, one of the things that we do is nonsense word list, meaning to say we're going to give words that do not exist in any language. For example, in the case of Dr. Seuss, maybe words like Lorex. Lorex doesn't mean anything. Or wug. Apa lagi? The Dr. Seuss ABC has a lot of this nonsense words. So we're going to use nonsense words, and then we are going to ask the child to read the words. If they can read the word, that means the child has developed the ability to decode, meaning utilizing strategies to connect letters and sounds. But for kids who cannot read nonsense words, it means that all this while, when he or she is reading, they are memorizing the words rather than decoding the words. So not decoding the words is not good because, you know, as we read, as we go to higher grades, we encounter more difficult words, and words that might not be familiar to us. So if we cannot decode those words, it's going to be hard for us to understand, right? So that's why decoding is a very important skill. So Nixie Knox. So for example, X, and then Dr. Seuss used the word, X is very useful if your name is Nixie Knox, right? Nonsense words. But very good in terms of rhyme. So if we were to teach rhymes to our kids, Dr. Seuss books is going to be great. And then some of his books also have very heavy themes, like the Lorax. It's about the environment and the characters, some makhluk, I would say, when you greed. And then we have Horton, and then we have Yertle the Turtle. So those are heavy themes as well. But it's very accessible to the kids because of the language. From this list, if you can see from my slide, Hop on Pop is very good. Hop on Pop, very simple. And then the pictures in the book would tell you what each of the words mean. For example, hop on pop. Pop here refers to like dad. So that's a picture of like these two things hopping on their dad. So next we have Eric Carle. Okay. Eric Carle has a lot of repetitive language in his books. The use of adjectives, animals, movements, colors, and sounds. Okay. Let me stop sharing. All right. So here I have Eric Carle's board books. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this one. Brown bear, what do you see? So it's very repetitive, right? And then from the picture, you know that like this is brown, the color brown, and the animal bear. Brown bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. So this book teaches about animal names and also colors. We have brown bear, and then the next one we have red bird, and this is also good for predicting. So you see red bird, and then you can ask, so what do you expect to see in the next picture? The next page. So we expect answer like, red bird. And then we can ask, what is the color of the bird, for example? And we're going to say something red, but what is it? What is it something that we're going to see? And then red bird, what do you see? So this is very repetitive. The phrase is, what do you see? What changes is only the animals. I see a yellow duck looking at me. So, with some of my clients, especially the very young ones, sometimes they're not able to. What do you see is like quite a long phrase, So sometimes they're just like, what see? So it's fine also, because at earlier stage of literacy, what do you see? For example, the word I love you, for some kids are not three different words. They are like one word. I love you is like one word to them. It is only after they start to develop like phonological awareness, phonemic awareness, and things like that, that they realize, oh, actually, I love you is made up of three different words. So it could be same for this one as well. Very good to introduce colors, to introduce animals, and also to introduce the structure of adjective and noun. So we don't say horse blue, we say blue horse, for example. Yep. Okay, and this is polar bear. What do you hear? So we talk about our senses as well. This is see, this is hear. So we can ask, the question is, what do you hear? What do you think will you hear in this book? Right, so I hear a lion roaring in my ear. How does a lion roar? So parents, you would need to do a lot of like role playing. I do not know how a lion roars, but you can do your own version of a lion roaring. Hippopotamus. What do you hear? Oh wait, what sound? Oh, hippopotamus snorting. So a lot of like acting here using Eric Carle's book. Another one is panda bear. What do you see? And this is about movement. I see a bald eagle soaring by me. So we know that an eagle soars. Buffalo, what does a buffalo do? Buffalo charging. Spider monkey swinging and things like that. So very good because of the repetitive structure of the language. And of course, the famous one is The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Right. I like board book like this because they are sturdy and they're big. And because of the art as well. So for books like this, and for any books for that matter, we can enhance the activities to not just reading, but something hands-on. So in the case of like The Hungry Caterpillar, we can like do a certain project with the drawings, right? But look at this. We can actually use, this is like maybe watercolor on a piece of paper that you can stick on a white paper. And then this one can be maybe orange papers that we can cut up and then glue to make the sun. So it can be a good art project as well. So from The Hungry Caterpillar, what can the child learn? Fruits. So we have apple, pear, what is this? Plums, strawberry, and is it peach? Oranges. And then numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4 strawberries, and then 5 oranges. We can also teach about the day of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and sampailah Friday. Okay, and then it's also about metamorphosis, right? Because after eating so much, the caterpillar becomes a butterfly. So it's a life process. Okay, so I think I have something else apart from Eric Carl. Oh, okay. Oh, so I think I have come to an end. Actually, there's another book that I will show later, but so I like to quote Mo Willems. He says that I sometimes joke that I wrote for functional illiterates, right? Because young kids cannot read yet. Because these stories aren't meant to be read once, they are meant to be read 1,000 times. So for a lot of kids, I think for all kids, we read books to them not just once but many times, and that is the magic of those books. For example, Eric Carle's books, Panda Bear, Brown Bear, the magic is through repetition, so that they can guess what will happen next, what animals will appear next. And for other Mo Willems book, it can be about the expression of the characters, or what would the characters feel. And also it's just fun to act out. So sometimes I do that during my session as well. Let's say it is like our second or third reading. So the child can take the character of maybe either the pig or the elephant. And because it's like dialogue, so they can choose which character they want to become, and they would read that part. All right. So one more book before I stop is If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. My favorite also. This is teaching about sequence, a very direct one. So first, if you give a mouse a cookie, there is the small mouse. He wants a cookie. If you give him a cookie, he is going to ask you for a glass of milk. Lepas tu kalau dah nak minum susu, kenalah ada straw. Dah lepas minum, kenalah ada napkin. Dah ada napkin tu pula, dia nak tengok lah macam mana muka dia depan cermin. Lepas tu, he noticed something. And then dia nak scissors, nak potong dia punya apa ni, giving himself a trim. And then a lot of things happen. Sampailah sudah. And then it went back up to, it reminds him, he'll ask for a glass of milk again. And then that milk will remind him that he wants a cookie. So this story comes full circle. All right. So I guess that's it from me. Yeah, we can have our Q&A right now. So
Okay, so let's have a look. There's a question here yang tadi Asma was asking. May I know any mechanism or technique to teach kids with autism spectrum disorder?
Seen in daily life.
Those who only memorize certain
certain words are frequently seen. So like I said earlier, we introduced new vocab through books as well. So for kids who memorize only certain words that they're frequently seen in daily life. So we can introduce other words. I guess it depends on what words that you want to introduce. I was also talking about fund of knowledge. So another element to make sure that reading is successful is not just the ability to decode, making the connection between letter and sounds, not only understand the meaning of the words, but also fund of knowledge. That means background knowledge. For example, I can read quite well. But then if you were to give me a book about baseball, I might not be able to understand anything because the words are very, I mean, for example, the word home run, right? It doesn't mean you run to your home or something. It is a certain concept. So you would have to have that background knowledge in order to understand those texts. So that's why for very young kids, or for any kids for that matter, experience is very important. Exposure is very important. So we are introduced to unfamiliar words in books, but no matter how unfamiliar they are, it helps that we also have like a certain hands-on or real experience connected to it. So for example, kids in the cities don't really know about farm animals. They haven't seen one, but maybe they can see them through documentaries on the TV. They can see them pergi ke zoo ke, pergi lawatan ke mana-mana ke. So we have to create that experience for them actually. So I guess, I hope that answers your question. So I guess, how do we teach kids with ASD more words? I guess it's about giving them more experience, because we also want to establish the purpose of learning the word, right? So for example, what is the purpose of learning the word home run? I'm not going to use it in my conversation, for example. So that's why we create experience to establish the purpose of learning the word.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any more questions? Okay. I think we've answered the question so far, Akmal. It was so nice. I mean, for me, it was a very good knowledge for me. Having a 6-year-old child going to be 7. I like I said before, I love buying books, but I don't really know how to use the books. So now I have a lot more, I think, a better idea on how to actually utilize those books now. Okay. So she was saying, like, love the book suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to share the list of books with Dr. Shah, and maybe she can share it with the participants later. And also I think like some final words maybe is that, some parents ask what is the best way to read to your child. I would say that there is no one best way. It really depends on how it is like with you and your child. For some people, they read before the child goes to bed. So it's like a bedtime story kind of a thing. I never had that growing up. But my mom did read to me. I remember baru balik pada pasar, and I insist that she reads to me right after we came back home from the market, from the pasar, kind. So it can be like whatever works for you. It can be whatever time that works for the child, but I would really suggest daily reading for at least 10 minutes. Okay, that's one thing. Repetitive. It doesn't have to be new books every day. It can be the same books for like 2-3 days, but options would be nice. Widen the genre of books. It doesn't have to be about animals. It can be about something else also. And also, oh yes, graded readers. So books like Peter and Jane, Bacalah Anakku, they are good for decoding skills, but they are not good in terms of like literacy, in terms of language development. No, that's not what those books are for. So especially for early readers, I would really suggest reading books like this, because you want to introduce full language and how the language is used, not just like the ability to decode.
Okay, so we have a few questions. So I think Emily Cock asking, how young would you introduce Boko reading? Is it Boko reading?
What is that?
It says BOKO, Boko reading. I don't know.
Boko reading? Well, I'm not familiar with that term.
My okay book reading. Sorry, how
Oh,
young
book reading.
would you introduce book
Okay.
reading?
So when is the question when to introduce book reading?
How young? Yes.
How young? Oh, I would suggest from the moment they're born, or even before they're born. Like seriously, because like I said, reading. I believe that reading is supposed to be a lifestyle. So introduce to them books from very young. And also for babies, we do not. Of course, the purpose of reading is not for them to macam, to be able to read. But for very young babies, the purpose is to familiarize them with the concept of reading. What does it mean to read? That means there is a book. And then you hold the book like this and you open it like this. And then the orientation and things like that will come after. And also it's to establish the connection between parent and also child. Because we want reading to be a very loving, warm, positive experience. It's not about book time and somebody would cry. We do not want that. So we want reading to be a very positive experience for the child, right? Reading is not just about how smart I am. Oh, I'm not smart because I cannot read this book. We do not want a child to feel like that. So reading is supposed to be a very positive experience. So start very young, make it a very, loving experience. And to me personally, reading aloud is like, it's very intimate because you are performing for someone. Yeah. Also, I think Khadija says that she has a question.
Yes, yes. So the next question will be from Khadija. So tell more about phonological awareness and phonemic awareness.
Okay, so phonological awareness is the awareness that language that we speak is made up of certain apa tu sound units. Phonological awareness. So macam kiranya, like I said earlier, the word I love you is not one word I love you. It's I love you. And the phonemic awareness is more detailed in that the word I love you is actually made up of discrete sound units. I love, sorry, E is silent in this case. Love you, E, ooh. So that's a even more detail. Uh, so why is it important for children in terms of reading, especially, is because reading, writing is essentially a representation of our spoken language, right? Because we don't read or write a language that we do not know. Normally, we don't do that. I mean, for example, we speak English and Malay, so we do not write in Arabic, for example. So it's related, reading and writing, and also spoken language. So the awareness that our speech, our stream of sounds that we make is actually can be parsed into certain meaningful units that when manipulated can mean something else. So for example, the word pet is made up of at. If I were to change p to b, it changes the meaning also. Now it becomes bad, and bad means something else. So that is the awareness that we want children to have, that with every letter it means something. So that's why you can't spell pet and bad like interchangeably, for example.
Sorry. Cool. All right. Okay, so next question. Can you share some techniques of decoding?
Decoding. Okay.
Like example, do you teach phonics first?
Yes. So definitely we start with phonics first. First we start with we have to start with letters. The child has to know the name of all the letters from A to Z. And then after that, we introduce the sound of the letters. For example, A, but we normally introduce consonants first, not vowel sounds. Because in English, vowel sounds, A can make many sounds, not just one. So consonants is easier. So we start with consonants. So what I would do.
Would you think it's the same as bahasa as well? Like you go for consonant first and then vowels?
Yeah, if I think it's the same because
Yeah.
language development wise,
Yeah.
language development wise, pun development of sound starts with like b b b, k k k, da da da. Right? So consonant sounds. Yeah. So yeah, I would start with letter naming and then the relationship between the sound and the letters. So for example, A when I was in the US, there is this phonics curriculum called foundations. So dia ada macam flashcards that we use. So A, apple, B, ball, C, can, for example. So that would be a good way to introduce, and it shouldn't be happening in isolation. It has to go together with reading as well. So for example, maybe kalau buku panda bear, what do you see? So depending on what sound you're doing, you can introduce the b sound, bear. Hey, we learned this sound before, right? What letter makes the b sound? So it can also be like a word level kind of a thing. So words that start with B, ball, book, bottle, for example, just 3 books. So we have a bottle, we have a book, we have a ball. What sound? What sound does it start with? Although of this word, what sound do they start with? B, ball. So they start with B. Yeah. So definitely, I would say we would normally start with phonics first, and then of course it would move from initial sound and then to vowel sound and then to word families, and then to so CVC or decoding only works with very short letters. You shouldn't be decoding if the words are long. Like, for example, pretending. You shouldn't be decoding no, it shouldn't be like that. So when you read long words like that, you are supposed to use another strategy, what we call as chunking. So, but then chunking is not going to happen unless you have mastered CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant.
That was really good. That was a good insight for me as well. Last question. Oh no, we have a few more. I have an 8 years. I have an 8-year-old daughter. She still can't read. Do I need to bring her to see a specialist?
Yes, because so I think it's recent years that kids started to learn how to read at younger ages. Like my generation, we went to school at age 6, so I didn't start to learn how to read properly until I was in standard 1 at age 7. But then kids now, they have like earlier exposure to reading. So I would say that by age 6, kids should be able to read already. Family words, sight words. When I say sight words, there are 2 meanings. It can be function words like is, the, this. Those could be sight words. And another meaning of sight words are words that are already familiar, that they are automatized, that are automatic recognition. Words like, for example, bear. You don't really decode bear, for example. It's a harder, because EA is another like vowel group that more difficult to decode, but you would know because you have seen bear in all of the books, almost all of the books that you read, so you should be able to know it already. So yeah, by 8 years old, if a child cannot read, yes, he or she should be evaluated to identify exactly what is the issue. It could be, is it decoding? Like, because when we evaluate, we would see what kind of errors or what kind of strategies that the child use when she's reading.
Oh, great. Okay. So definitely we encourage lah to go and have an assessment, kan? Well, the last question, I think for now, how would you teach vowels as Malay and English vowels are so different?
I would go for what is the same first, and then barulah how they would differ. So Bahasa Melayu is what we call shallow orthography because one letter represents one sound. In English, it's deep because one letter could represent, in the case of vowel, many sounds, right? So I would start with what is apa tu? More similar. For example, vowels like O. It's pretty, O is kind of like straightforward. Oo, not really. So I would say that when we teach these 2 languages, we have to say that, okay, in English, A is actually a. It's like cat. In Bahasa Melayu, A is like cat. So different. And also, kids might what we call overgeneralize. So for example, kadang-kadang bila he might use the concept of vowel dalam Malay in English. So katalah macam the book is The Cat in the Hat. Dia mungkin boleh baca the chat in the hat. It's fine. It's fine. Like bilingual kids make that kind of like errors as well. So we just have to highlight, oh, we are reading English. So in English, the vowel A makes A sound, not A.
Cool. I hope. I think you answered all of the questions. Not I think yet you did answer all of the questions. I think Khatijah is also asking question. Do cooing first before babbling, or cooing is made up from vowels? Yeah. So
yeah, I think cooing happened first before babbling, and in fact, even before cooing, babies make guttural sound when they cry, right? Guttural sound like, okay, I can't make it. Let's further through. Yes. So yeah, it happens. It happens first, definitely. Yes.
I think maybe the question here is like macam, I think speech development has to go through the whole stages, right? Like cooing, babbling, but at the same time, when you want to introduce reading, but then you were saying that you want to start introducing consonants.
Oh yes, we introduce consonants because vowels have many sounds. For example, in English, A is a. It can also, for example, a cat, in some situation we can say a cat, right? So that's why we don't introduce vowels first. We introduce consonants first. And also in terms of literacy, when they are writing, they would normally write with consonants without the vowels. So for example, cat might only be spelled with C and T, with no vowels. So that's very common among kids.
Wow, I learned a lot today because obviously, I mean, being an audiologist, these are all new things for me. And of course, as a parent, I have a different idea on what to start first. I always thought that you want to teach vowel first because I thought that makes sense. A, E, I, O, U, like, A, E, U, A, O. But now I learned something new, and I really hope everybody here learned something. I think we have more to share in the future. But I hope everybody warm up with Akmal. And if you have any questions in the future, you can always directly ask Akmal, or actually can also ask through us as well. I think that's the time that we have right now. It's been an hour. And it's been a wonderful 1 hour and wonderful information. Thank you so much, Akmal.
Thank you, everyone.
As everyone's starting to say thank you. Yep, it was very informative. Do you have any last advice or anything, last words that you want to share with us before we close down this?
So I would like to say thank you for everyone for participating in this webinar. It's great to be able to share, and I believe that some of you have like more knowledge in terms of like working with children with reading difficulties, for example, or definitely in terms of the skills or the techniques that you use to promote reading among the child. So it's been an honor, and I hope that we can make reading fun for everyone, and especially the children that we work with.
Definitely. Okay, thank you so much. Again, we'll see you again, Akmal, hopefully. I'm pretty sure you have a lot more to share. And thank you, everybody. Hope to see you guys again. Stay safe. I think the PM is giving us another exciting news. I don't know what. Hopefully something that makes us tenang. So again, stay safe. #stay at home. Thank you, Akmal.
Correct. Thank you, Dr. Shah.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Assalamualaikum.
Assalam.